Yeah.
All right, well, call the meeting to order. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I think she's right.
You want to do roll call?
Commissioner Dibble,
Here.
Commissioner Corbin,
Here.
Commissioner Wire,
Here.
Commissioner Shaw, Mayor Lindsay.
Here. You have before you, the agenda for the Board of Equalization.
We'll need to add number 10. We had one appeal come in through the mail. It's still dated within the deadline, so we can add it. It'll be appeal number 2024-10. Got a parcel number. I'm just gonna say it's for Crusher Investments LLC, 531 Southeast 8th Street.
Make a motion to approve the agenda with the added,
Second.
Hey, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries. Okay, so now we're in public comment. Mr. Yunker, you're the first one that we have on here. Would you like to step up and share some words other than what was written?
So, you ever got my assessment letter in the mail? I went to see the county assessor. And because it didn't say what my last year's assessment value was, so I want to know what was going on. So he pulls out the books and stuff and got to looking at it, and it looks like the house is in the flood zone in town. In 2017, they did a 15% reduction, but to the land. It didn't make any sense to me because realistically, what gets damaged in a flood? The house. So I did more research and it looks like, when you add flood insurance into the value, into monthly bills, if someone were to buy my house, they would afford about 15% less because they have to add in the $100 a month of flood insurance. So realistically, that 15% should have been reduced on the building instead of the land.
Okay. I've looked at that. I understand what you're asking and that, the 15% property value was dropped. And this was an appeal that we also heard last year. And so I think it's something in that should go before the county commission in terms of how they're doing their assessments in the areas where the flood zones are.
Mhm.
Because if we were to reduce your house 15% because it's in the flood zone, we'd have to look at 60% of the houses in town. And so they base the equalization on sales and equalization on how one home compares to another. But I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying, I just don't think that, us reducing it is the right thing to do when you're asking, for how a policy is handled.
Right, that's why on the bottom, I said, I think it's bigger than just my house. I don't understand what they did. Didn't make any sense.
Well, they have to adjust everything to within the guidelines of the state based on sales.
Right,
Okay, and so beyond that, any adjustments in that they make after that would be a county policy. And so that's where I feel that you're coming from, because I've looked at the assessment and the on here, and everybody's went up anywhere from 5 to 10%.
right.
Some maybe a little bit more,
That's what he said.
but they're all based on, comparisons from one home to another. And so at this point in that, I don't have an answer. I'd see, of changing anything. I'm not certain what the commission feels.
This is standard all flood zone way. What's the terminology? You're in the flood.
We're in a flood zone. I don't know what the correct terminology is.
Okay, flood zone. So it's 15% discount on land.
Well, they applied it to the land.
In
rather than
2017,
applying it to
Across the
house.
board though.
Across the board.
In 2017.
Yeah,
But they didn't do structures at that time.
No,
That's,
not on my
well,
record, so I did.
structures, you know, again, they have to stay within between 85 and 100% of
Oh.
sales to meet, without being penalized for the state, so.
sure.
So sales is what's gonna be, you know, your biggest guide, plus what's there compared to what the neighbor is. As an example, if I had a house here and that, I decided to sell it to my daughter for 25% less than what it really should sell for, it still should be valued equal to the neighboring house if they're the same. So we're talking equalization for taxation,
Right.
you know, more than anything, so. Other thoughts?
When I look at, when a quick web search, it looks like my house went down 8% from 23 to 24. I don't know if I agree with everything on the web, that just sometimes I pull up my phone just right out there in the walkway.
Yeah, I don't know what to tell you on that one. The one thing that we're looking at here is valuation for equalization for tax purposes
Mhm.
as done by the county. So, you know, that's kind of where we're at. Any other questions or comments?
So it sounds like a policy issue. I think we should.
I
send it to
agree.
The county.
I agree. Okay, thank you, sir. We, okay, we're doing the appeals right now, letting people talk.
Mhm.
And then later on in that, we go into the business section and then we address them in the business section.
Okay, so I should hang around or I should leave?
It's up to you. It's up to you. We won't make a decision until we get to part two,
Thank you.
okay? The next one that's here, I've got down is Pete. And then also Heather's here.
Yep.
And I think you,
Both of us.
yep,
Yep.
and I think you're talking about all four of the same lot.
Yep, correct.
Yeah, the same.
And Jim
Same.
Brown.
Yeah.
And just for the audience here, I'll clarify two things, is we're gonna go through the items first that have people here present,
Yes,
and then we can go back to the ones that don't have people present.
Yeah.
And then the airport one, there's 4 items on here, 3, 4, 5, and 8, which are all related to the same topic, so I think we could do one open public comment period for all those items at once, just to knock them out.
Yeah.
And then later, the actions, the motions will still be individual.
Go ahead.
The hangar was sold to Roger Lee in July of 2023. He removed the hangar immediately following he stated that it was right after he purchased it. So we were asking for the commission to look at it and the committee to look at it and change it to since there's nothing there currently anymore, there's no building there. It's back to city property since there's no hangar there currently. So that's what we're requesting.
okay. And the only thing I'll add at this point in time is the assessments that are done for 2023 were done at the beginning of the year. The buildings were there.
Yep.
And the 2023 assessments are for taxes paid in 2024.
Yep,
And so, I'm just gonna say at this point in time, I have no problem, adjusting it to 0 for 2024 payable in 2025.
That's what we was
yeah,
looking for.
that's what we're looking for, just to make sure it's confirmed.
Oh,
So. I have one question. Did the county not know it was tore down or how did
no, it
it
was,
happen? Did
they were, the building is standing in 2023 to
Gotcha.
July.
Okay.
And so it was assessed in the beginning of 2023 for your taxes payable in 2024.
So it's a timing.
Yes, it's, and so, well, your taxes, you always pay them the next year.
Yeah.
You know, but what they're asking for now is for the valuation in 2024 to be 0. And that because there's no building there. And as of January 1, there is no building there.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's what we're
That
asking,
was
just make
simple.
sure.
So to me, that's a
Yep.
simple one to have.
Perfect.
All right,
All right.
Thank you.
You have a great evening.
you too. Jared Keene is here next.
Hello again,
Hey,
same property as last year.
okay,
Only change that happened this year is I put the home on the market at 325, couldn't sell, put it at 310, couldn't sell, change it to a rental. So when the appraisal came over 100%, an asking price I couldn't get, then I think the appropriate answer last year when I said 320 would be the right evaluation. Probably should have been 295 to 300 and then increased this year to 310,
And yours was the one that was for sale, or was it the?
Is mine.
Yours.
1115.
Okay, and, basically, in that, it's assessed at 320.
337, or yeah, 320
320.
was the one we adjusted to last year. And then for this upcoming year, it's 337.
Yeah, yeah,
And to be clear here, the application that came in, we were confused over whether it was the cyber court or the Union Avenue. And I think what I communicated to the commission, but to make sure the public is in the same boat here. Number 7 is 1115 North Union Avenue is the property that they are. Just make sure the public is aware. Yeah, 1115 North.
And I had 6 parcels change, all of them fair within 85 to 100%, but this is the only one that's probably at 115% enrichment percent. And I still couldn't sell it, so I have no idea.
How long do you have it on the market?
It started October 20th or so until February. I finally transferred to rental. So I had one showing at 310. Interest.
and it was equalized at 320 before, right?
No, it's higher than that, right?
Is that right? Am I remembering that wrong?
It's 320 was what it was changed to last year.
Yeah,
The proposed value this year is 337.1.
Yeah.
And the request is to 310.
Correct.
Lower than last year.
yeah, which I would support last year. At 320. But again, we're in the appeal process right here, so. All right. Now, is there anyone else here to speak on any of them?
Kelly, do you have a question or?
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, so is he asking for 320 or 310 or?
My letter asked for 310, but
As
if going
be
past,
lower than last year's.
Right.
right, because I couldn't even sell it at 310, so clearly.
Well,
we're at
and you know,
4% more.
Again, I'll reiterate in that, that the equalization values and that are how one property compares to another for tax purposes. And so as you go along, you may see some that are maybe sell for more than what the valuation is at the courthouse and some sell for less. But it's the job at the courthouse for them to say, okay, this one has the same square footage, similar amenities and that, and make equalization for taxation purposes.
So, and I don't know if new builds in cyber state poorly influence our value, inflating it, but our location's more difficult to sell in, road conditions are difficult, so some of the things I included in the letter addition.
Yeah, I think the ones in cyber states are gonna be 380 and up.
Right, and I was watching their valuations too, and they're smaller, so it is difficult to gauge against. But I couldn't even sell it at lower value than what I'm being taxed at, so. It's a tough one.
All right. Is there anyone else for any of the other appeals that are here? Sir, did you come on a property at all?
Just came to listen.
Okay, thank you. We like having company. So,
I might have something to say, you never know.
all right, with that, since there's no one else here to speak, do we want to discuss these in the appeal or just move on into business? I just don't move on into business. All right, so we will move into the business portion where we start making decisions. So the number 10 that's on here is consideration and appeal on 2024-1, which is Mr. Younker's property. Commission have any thoughts?
So what action do we have to take to have them go to the county?
We can leave it where it's at. We can raise the valuation if we think it's too low, or we can lower the valuation if it's too high.
You set what you feel is an appropriate valuation, and then he is able to appeal to the county level if he wants. Or if the equalization office is not happy with any changes you've made, they can also appeal it to the county.
And the other thing that I will mention right now is the school board is usually represented on the Board of Adjustment or Board of Equalization. They did not have a member that was available to be here tonight. And they are also probably the largest receiver of the taxation from property taxes. So they really are not here represented. So the decisions that we make will move on, and if they aren't happy with it, they can also appeal to the county.
Well, yes, I would like to leave it where it is and he can go to the county and work it out with them.
Okay, would you like to make that as a motion?
Right now it's at 171,
171, 800.
800. And there was a sale in 2021, is that?
That's when I bought it.
Yeah, we purchased in 21 at 177,000. Last year is reduced to an amount I don't have noted, but then the proposed assessment is.
62, 225.
Yeah, 162, and then the proposed assessment is 171.
Did you have that as a motion?
To leave it alone,
Yes.
if I need to. If I
Well-
feel like I'm taking action, I'm no action. then,
I think it's appropriate to
It is.
motion to
I'll
set
do
the
that.
value at where it's at.
yeah.
And I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries. Okay, number 11. Consideration and action on appeal, number 2024-2, Kevin and Lois, Mielke. And on this one here, you know, it was purchased in August of 23 for 385. And the assessment, in February was raised to 407. They feel that that's a little bit, steep in that for that short a time period between the two. From myself, instead of using a 5 or a 10%, I used a 4%, which would set it at 400,920. And again, this is for equalization purposes. And that, for taxation, so other thoughts?
Yeah, I think this one warrants a reduction too, and I came up with 397, 100 for the 2.5% structure reduction and 2% land reduction, so. Somewhere there, I think is what I would think to be fair.
What's your final number?
397, 100.
Is that your motion?
I'll make a motion to change it to 397,100 for appeal 2024-2.
Second.
We have,
We will need to know, land versus housing price too.
Yeah, so I figured the structure price at 347,200. And the land price at 49,900.
okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, the next one on here, we've already done 12 and 13.
For action. Yeah.
And 14 too, right?
We haven't had action yet on 12.
Well, that was Stempers.
Yep, you discussed, but you haven't had action.
Oh, right,
I'll
exactly.
make a motion to move the dwelling to $0 for appeal 2024-3.
For 2024 assessment.
Yep.
Okay,
Second.
okay. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, on the next one, number 13, consideration on appeal 2024-0. And again, this here is on those empty lots where the hangar was taken down. And since there's no building and it is city property, then that their request was to have the 2024 assessed value as $0.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Now, on the next one, consideration and action on appeal 2024-5. Tim and Darla Brown, I believe this is the same thing too, right?
This is also a report.
So, on this one here, looking back in that, they are requesting in that for 2024 that the valuation be at 0.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, and then this next one here, consideration and action on appeal 2024-6. And this is Logan Stratton, who just spoke here at 1111 North Union Avenue. Last year in 2023, the equalization value was set at 320,000. And he is asking for it to be reduced to 310. However, for equalization purposes, other properties in that have gone up 5 to 10%. Thoughts?
Well, my thoughts are if you can't sell it at 310, I think we should go with the recommendation of 310. Make a motion to change it to 310 for appeal 2024-6. 310,000.
Are you able to split it up between property and
Ooh,
building?
Let you do it.
yeah.
Am I correct that this is a different property? This is Jared was here for the 1-1.
Yeah, this would be Logan, yeah, so
There's,
this would be
duplex.
number
yeah.
15 for where.
Got you.
How about we just make it easy? The dwelling is 300 and the land is 10,000.
You have,
Card here,
yeah, what's the card have? Maybe we start
the
there.
last year or which one?
I could tell you, the valuation of the dwelling is 309.6, the land's 10.4.
In 23,
Correct.
that's at 320.
Yeah. So if we take 9,600 off the dwelling and 300 of the land, it's 310.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? We got a second? We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 16, consideration and action on appeal 2024-7. Jared Keene, 1171 Cyber Court.
That's
This
just,
is
that should be
actually-
corrected. It should be 1115 North.
Oh, yep. Yep, that's one of the addresses wrong.
I'll make a motion to, put,
Same.
structure, yeah, Sings lost on 310,000 for that property. For 3
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 17, consideration and action on appeal 2024-8. Foster, Don Lorene, 806 North Division Avenue. And on this one here, the property was last valued.
Mayor, sorry, we will need to pause. I know we had a school member that couldn't make it. Jeremiah had to leave for something at 6. He said that he's going to come back after the meeting.
Okay,
We require 4 for quorum. So to be clear, this board can adjourn temporarily and reconvene in 30-ish minutes when he gets back. Since we need a quorum for the last 2 items. And then in the meantime, we do have a commission agenda, which we can move forward with. since we
actually,
only-
this one's over here.
Yep. and
Oh, yeah,
the,
pressure. Yep, got it.
which we only need 3 people for the commission agenda, so we can keep doing business, but we'll need to come back to the equalization side. To be clear, adjourning as a board of equalization,
All right.
meeting as
Do we have a motion to adjourn as the Board of Equalization?
temporarily.
Motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, and so we will move into now Board of Commissioners. Do we have a motion to adopt the agenda as the Board of Commissioners?
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Is there anything anyone would like to discuss or remove from the consent calendar? If not, do we have a motion to accept the consent calendar?
Make a motion to approve the consent calendar.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Seeing no unfinished business, under new business, first reading of ordinance number 1666, amend the public nuisance process. And Jameson, I'm gonna ask you to address this, and Gary, if Gary has something to add to it.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mayor, members of the commission, if you remember last late summer or fall, we had a couple different nuisance declaration hearings. And at that time, it was discussed that our current ordinance process requires any nuisance which is declared to go to a public hearing before you as a body. Most cities do it differently where staff are able to administratively declare a nuisance and the property owner has the right to request a hearing, which then comes to you. And at that time, there was interest expressed by the commission to look at revising it to match up more with what other cities do. So this ordinance number 1666 accomplishes that. It allows us to declare a nuisance, but still have the property owners to have the right to decide whether they want to appeal and receive a hearing. So this ordinance modifies and defines the nuisance process. It establishes the notice to abate the nuisance, who serves the notice, and it removes the city commission's requirement to determine if a nuisance exists. Establishes recovery of expense process, establishes the process of condemnation, and establishes the process to appeal a determination of the nuisance. So staff recommend approval as we feel this will help to strengthen as well as streamline our processes of nuisance abatement.
Gary, did you have anything you wanted to add?
I just need this to get my job done, to get the city cleaned up.
Okay.
That's all I wanna do.
Okay. Questions or comments from the commission? If not, do we have a motion?
I've got a question.
Yes, sir. Sir?
Yeah.
For the general public and that, if you'd come to the table and then state your name, please, because we have people that are listening that, don't see the meeting.
My name is Marvin Parkinson,
Okay?
and I'm just curious on public nuisance thing. Do you guys, that's pretty much a national, countrywide ordinance, basically. It's the same everywhere from my research, and the process and the definition of it is. Do you guys follow the definition when you claim a public nuisance?
There is a national standard that towns can look at and revise to fit their situation. Because what may fit in Madison may not work in Sioux Falls or Yankton or Watertown. So there are the national ones are guides.
Okay,
Uh-huh.
what is the guideline for definition of public nuisance here in Madison?
We have a long policy.
Yeah, so within this ordinance, the section 24-20 enumerates what those nuisance examples would be, and there's look, 11 different items that are list out what nuisances would.
What they are, but what constitutes them actually being a nuisance? It's got like most towns or whatever, it's got to be a detriment to a certain community or the public involved in the immediate area. Complaints based on people in general in your neighborhood. Things in that line.
I can't speak towards what other cities do, but what the nuisance process would be contained within this ordinance, within that enumerated.
Is that new stuff there then, or what? Cause I haven't seen in our ordinances here.
I believe that section would be the same as it was before, and the changes from this ordinance come from later sections. Ryan, would that be correct? Ryan can come up here and answer them this as well.
So I think what
Just
you're
curious.
looking for is what defines a nuisance.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. That's what I'm after, me more than anything.
That's going to be these, and maybe I'll just read those aloud here. A nuisance means any person doing an unlawful act or omitting to perform a duty or suffering or permitting any condition or thing to be exist, which act, omission, condition either injures or endangers the comfort, repose, safety of others, offends decency, is offensive to the sin, unlawfully interferes with, obstructs, or tends to obstruct, or renders dangerous for passage any public or private street, highway, sidewalk, stream, ditch, or drainage, in any way renders other persons insecure in life or the use of property, or essentially interferes with the comfort, enjoyment of life and property, or tends to depreciate the value of the property of others. And again, as mentioned, there are some items enumerated here. Some of those would be noxious weeds, accumulation of rubbish, trash.
So is there like definitions on rubbish and trash? Cause like I've got some metal that isn't scrap metal, but I've been told it's scrap, and I do have some scrap. But it's like it's all contained, not scattered everywhere or whatever, so I just kind of wondered what the,
Yeah, and I think that would go back then to, maybe item number 6, does that tend to depreciate or value the value of the property of others? And so, aesthetic reasons, it could be a harborage for rats or mice, snake, vermin, those kinds of things.
yeah, the same thing everybody else does, rabbits.
Rabbits.
Everybody's got them in town.
Yeah.
Is there a copy of that I can get with the new ordinance on it, or whatever, is the ordinance is on it for that?
Yes,
You can have mine. I can always
Perfect.
print off a new one. And again, so the types of nuisances isn't changing through this ordinance. What we are changing is the process so that instead of automatically having hearings to declare a nuisance, that it can be done administratively, and property owners still have the right to appeal to have a hearing before this body if they want to have it.
Prior to action being taken, or obviously?
There'd be a time period. I think it's 10 days in there, is that right, Ryan? That they would have, that the property owner would have to appeal, and then the hearing would be scheduled the next meeting. And at that point, then the governing body would have final say in what happens.
Yeah, I'm just kind of curious on that.
hey,
Is this gonna be carried out like it has been in the past with threats, or is it gonna be legitimate? Like due process?
Yeah, that's what this is setting up, its due process. And in the past, I know we've had hearings as well, and we're just making this a little more streamlined. So in the past, there's been hearings, and now there'll still be the opportunity for hearings as well.
Okay, well, you can't, like, for me, a year ago, I got a second notice finally. And that was supposed to be considered my first, well, that's not due process.
Yeah, I can't speak towards the notices.
Well, I was
for
just
specific
saying.
property off the top of my head.
All right,
all
well,
right, well, you can go ahead and read that, and if you have any questions in that, you can give us a call.
right on, thank you.
Right?
Thank you.
So first reading of ordinance number 1666, amend public nuisance process. Any other questions, comments, discussion? If not, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to adopt the first reading of ordinance number 1666, amend public nuisance process.
A second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 16, hearing and action on approval of community development and housing needs assessment. So Jameson, do you want to go first?
Sure,
Or
I
Brooke?
can take a stab at it, and Brooke can certainly add in if she'd like.
Sounds good.
So as we know that the LAIC is looking at a community development block grant, the city would be the applicant sponsoring that on behalf of the LAIC with the purpose of grant funds to build an early learning center within our community. In order to apply for that grant, the commission needs to have discussed, had a hearing, and then approved a community development and housing needs assessment plan, which states what the priorities are for our community, not just the list of priorities, but also the order of them. And so this does that to meet that grant requirement and puts at the top the need for the early learning center, estimated cost of 4.5 million. Once this is approved, then we can have that grant submission occur. So this is a hearing, so I'll let the mayor ask if there's any.
Brooke, would you like to add to that?
Thank you. I really don't have anything else to add. It's just one more step to get our CDBG grant to the finish line. Our goal is to hit submit by the 22nd. There's a deadline of April 1st, but we want to give a little bit of time for any missed items or requested edits. So we're on the right path. We've been working hard. We're excited to hit submit and
Okay, so we've got hearing and action on here, so.
So who's gonna perform the plan, is that some?
Yeah, is that in front of them?
Yeah, so this
Do you
is
have
something that we need to have in place, and in general, these are things that we're always working towards, you know, the other items on here, are improvement of city infrastructure. Certainly, we have a lot of projects going on there. There's identified need for housing units, economic development, other things like that. So the city would be committed to this assessment plan, but I don't think there's any other immediate actions that would be taking place as a result of it.
And I think
That answer your
overall,
question?
this assessment plan's a formal plan that that we've put in place. Or the city's put in place on behalf of our need, but it truly mimics a number of our initiatives and the city's strategic plan, from housing and childcare. And then it aligns with our housing study that we had complete a year ago. So it kind of spells out what we've already been doing and really what our needs are. If you didn't hear too, I have it just print, it's just a one page.
I got it.
Okay.
So on here, and that we would need a motion to accept this, so it shows up in our minutes. So with that, if we have any other discussion, questions? If not, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept it, is that what we accept
Approve the community development housing needs assessment.
to approve the community development housing needs assessment.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 17, thanks, Rick. Number 17, award bid sidewalk improvement project 2024-1. Big Al's Contracting. So
We'll let Ryan tackle that.
Ryan?
We opened bids on this project on March 5th at 10 a.m. And Big Al's Contracting is the low bidder on the project. We've recommended approval of this project and awarding of this bid. I initially thought that Big Al's, he had the 2023 project as well. And I initially thought that his unit price were exactly the same. There's just a slight adjustment on some of these, but overall, we feel it's a really good price. And Big Al's Contracting has shared that they plan to be here in April to start the work and finish that as quickly as they can. So we recommend approval.
Questions, comments?
We've had good luck historically with their work,
Um,
craftsmanship.
They do very good work. I mentioned that they had the project last year. They actually didn't come and do any of that work last year, so that's concerning. So, upon them being the low bidder, we've reached out to them, make sure that they were committed to coming here and doing both years' work. So they've indicated that they are.
What was the reason for not showing up?
Not a very good reason. I guess they just said we got behind on some other projects and we just didn't make it down there. And so we're hoping that this year that will be more of a priority.
Well, the nice thing is if they said they'll start in April, we got a good chance of them getting it all done.
Yeah, and their work is good. They've done good work in the past.
Other questions?
I'll make a motion to accept Big Al's Contracting bid for sidewalk improvement project 2024-1.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 18, award bid number 948, surveillance and security systems for the new city hall. Jameson?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. These systems, as you mentioned, are for the new city administration building. They were not included in the original project that was bid to Journey Construction, as they're more technical in nature. And so we would prefer to bid them out separately. Within this item are surveillance security systems, so it'd be surveillance cameras, mainly inside the building, some exterior as well, and then door access controls throughout the facility. We had a very competitive process. We had 5 bidders on that. And we are actually recommending to go with the second lowest bidder when it comes to the flat rate. The lowest bidder was at $82,600, but they had an annual recurring cost of $4,800. None of the other bidders had the annual recurring cost, and the next lowest bidder was Quality Telecommunications at $88,441. So they were about 6,000 higher in the matter of about, by year two, they would become the low bidder because of that recurring fee on the other vendor. So we recommend awarding the bid to Quality Telecommunications, in the amount of $88,441. We believe that they do good work, and the system that they propose would be exactly what we're looking for.
Question?
Life expectancy,
I don't know that offhand.
more than 2 years.
Yes, certainly the 2 years, yeah.
Other questions?
Good that we have several bids.
Yeah.
Do we have questions or do we have a motion?
Oh, I'll make a motion to award bid number 948 for the surveillance and security system.
Second.
To quality, well, yes, quality that you recommend.
Okay, Quality Telecommunications, yeah.
Second. Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 19, authorize the mayor to sign change order number 1, HK Solutions, Madison Sanitary Sewer CIPP lining project. Jameson, Ryan, you want to address something?
Making sure he gets his steps in today.
Yeah,
So this is change order number 1 with HK Solutions. During the project, the contractor had identified the need for a transition liner to go between a 6-inch clay tile pipe to an 8-inch PVC pipe. This is between Kansas Avenue and Catherine Avenue. There's approximately eight or so feet of the 8-inch that goes from the manhole at Catherine and goes west. So the cost of this transition liner is $4,500 on top of the price for the lining. We think that this would be a good thing to do. Our options would be to approve this change order and still line that. Or the other option would be to not line the whole segment at all, so we'd be missing out on a block of liner there, so. We would recommend approval of this change order. We feel that the price is fair.
so now the majority of that then is clay tile?
Yes.
And then it's the plastic?
Yeah.
And it's the clay tile that we get our infiltration from,
Correct. Yes.
so. You know, it's not something that you wanna come back and say later on, I wish we would have done that.
Mhm.
Other thoughts? Question?
This wasn't identified before.
No, and I'm not, I guess I'm cloudy on how we didn't identify that there's a transition. I think it just was kind of, planned out. This lining project was actually planned out in like 2020, and at that time it was all clay tile. And I think when then they went and done the RD projects, it was just kind of forgotten that 8-inch pipe got put there, but yet the liner plan still showed, the 6-inch all the way. And so it's kind of an oversight, I would say.
So we ran a camera and discovered it, or how?
When they were lining it, they just went in and said, oh, this is an 8-inch and we are lining a 6-inch line here. And so then, it didn't take long to experiment. Well, yeah, that's the issue here.
Other thoughts or questions?
Make a motion to accept change order number 1, this $4,500 increase to HK Solutions.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Number 1 on the last item was kind of nice for a change.
Yeah.
For the year.
Yes. Number 20. Authorize the mayor to sign the grant application with the FAA, BIL, AIG to reconstruct the FBO apron and taxi lane. And Jameson, have you addressed this first and then Ryan?
This is for next year's airport project, and I'll just let Ryan take a trick from there.
Yeah, so
This,
this,
so much, so.
this grant application would be for the design, component of it. Typically, I should point out, typically our funding goes 90% federal, 5% state, and 5% local. This project is gonna have a very different, percentage breakdown. For this project, 59.4% will be coming from the federal. Only 3.3 comes from the state, and the remainder, 37.3% comes from the local. So this is quite a bit more than we are used to paying for, design. And then the construction will be the same breakdown of percentages. We estimate the construction project to be $890,000. So, that 37% is quite a large number compared to our other airport projects. Some of this is due to the fact that, there's ineligible portions, there's 1,479 square yards of exclusive use, is what the FAA calls it, exclusive use apron pavement, and that would be within 50 feet of the building. So what this amounts to for this design would be, the city's share would be $38,046. And this grant application would be to authorize the mayor to sign that grant application, then it goes to the FAA, and they determine if our project is eligible and if they will fund their portion.
Did you speak to the project itself yet?
No, I guess I could give you kind of a breakdown of that. So this project's needed now because the asphalt pavement in front of the FBO apron, or in front of the FBO building, and the taxiway are in kind of critical condition. The apron in front of the FBO terminal was rated at 18, which is a failed rating range of 0 to 40. So it's in pretty poor condition. The taxi lane that connects from the apron to the parallel taxiway is rated at 26. That same failed rating average of 0 to 40. So this failed rating, it presents some safety concerns, and there's issues with additional maintenance and inspection by airport staff. So this reconstruction project is meant to remedy those issues, that asphalt deterioration.
I'm not sure what those numbers mean, but how does that compare to the road that goes by the airport that people drive on? What would that be? Or number wise,
I'd put
on
it
your
at,
scale?
I'd put it at probably west one, going north. It probably in that same 16, 18, and the one going east-west,
Yeah.
that may be a 1 or a 2.
Yeah, it's not good. When you get to
I'm not
that,
gonna
that
land plane on
point,
that one.
I mean, you're not even really doing PCI index anymore because it's so shot that it doesn't matter what the number is. It's an obvious.
Yeah.
But yeah, all of the payment that's on the airport gets evaluated. Given a PCI index, and that's how we, prioritize projects out there.
Does that grant cover that road since it's by the airport?
It would be nice, wouldn't it?
Can you please come to the podium and state your name?
95.
So at this point in time, and that's, what we're approving is the, signing the grant application. And that, to see, if we are gonna get federal funds and that to move this forward. There will be another date, and that when we will be, once the project is, figured out, and that we'll be voting on it again, whether to accept and make the payments. Is that correct?
Correct. And these percentages, they may be able to move. There's some concerns that the FAA has. There's ineligible portions, and we know that those won't be funded, but then there's some other concerns that we hope that we can kind of appease the FAA and get some more funding from them. So some of these percentages may move around, and if that happens, then they'll amend our application and include that higher percentage that they would contribute. So we're hopeful for that, but I guess we need to prepare for the worst and hope for the best.
I mean, that's gotta be pretty common among other airports, this exclusive apron, coming out of.
Yes. It is, yeah. So this 50 feet away from the building is common.
I'll make a
Yeah.
motion
Go ahead, make a motion.
to authorize the mayor to sign grant application at the FAA to reconstruct FBO apron and taxi lane.
Second.
Hey, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 21, authorize the mayor to sign the professional services agreement with KLJ for the reconstruction of the FDO apron and taxi lane. And this here would be for the design of the project.
Right, and what I was gonna mention was, on the last slide, remember that the construction isn't planned for this year, it's planned for 2025. The design would occur in 2024, so that's what this is for, is a professional services agreement with KLJ. They've typically done our airport projects. Once we know what the cost is gonna be and what that split's gonna be for next year's construction, we'll be able to put that in next year's budget accordingly. For this year, the same rough percentages are probably what we can expect for the grant, or at least what we should plan for this year, knowing that that could still change to our benefit. With that, Brian, what else would you add for this item?
Not much else, just, that this would put the city of Madison's city of Madison's, dollar amount toward this design at, again, with $38,046. And so that's what we'd be asking to allocate to the design, and as Jameson mentioned, KLJ does all of our airport stuff, and they're ready to get going.
Questions, comments?
We'll make
Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion, authorize the mayor to sign professional service agreement with KLJ for reconstruct FBO apron taxi.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Ryan. Number 22, review the recreational trail master plan map draft. And Jameson, you want to address that?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So we're not looking for action to approve the plan tonight. I just wanted to present a draft because I do want final approval at the next meeting in April. There's going to be some grant opportunities in early April that we want to apply for. And so if there's any changes or comments, questions, concerns, or otherwise, I'd like to discuss those tonight so that the plan can be finalized and brought to you for approval on your April 1st meeting. So the intent behind the master plan for recreation trails is to provide a vision for our trails in town. We do have an existing trail system that goes from Flintfield out to Lake Madison that the city operates. And we wanted to engage with the public to see if there was interest and enthusiasm behind expanding that trail system. So the intent of the plan is to look at recreation trails, not to look at transportation alternatives such as bike lanes or otherwise. We did take consideration into how to include that as needed, but that wasn't what we were going to the public for. We were going to look at recreational trails for purposes of biking, walking, hiking, etc. I'll also note that this is a vision for recreation trails in town, but it doesn't mean that we are taking action tonight to build any trails or that we even have the authority or the funding to do that at this time. So there might be property owners out there that see a trail going near or on their property, and they might be concerned by that, but this is simply a vision for areas that we think would be opportune to build trails should the opportunity arise. With that, I won't go through it all in detail, but the master plan outlined the purpose for the plan, the ways that we gathered community input, which had been through a survey that had 388 respondents, as well as a well-attended open house. The takeaways that we had from that community input, the principles behind building the plan, and ultimately the plan could really be wrapped up with the map that is provided on one page. The plan principles, I will pause on for a second. A couple of the things that I pulled away from the public input as well as knowledge and experience that staff have are a couple of our balancing acts, I would say. The first ones being that we believe that a dedicated trail system within Madison needs to stay within Madison to the most part. We are using taxpayer dollars here, and so we want to use those to the most benefit so that our residents and our citizens can step out their house and have close and clear access to a trail. At the same time, this is the balancing act, we received almost overwhelming requests from the public and input that they would like to see a trail connect Lake Herman. So the plan does include a recreation trail to go from the city of Madison to Lake Herman. And the rationale there is that our citizens get a lot of benefit and would have their tax dollars put to good investment by having that connection to Lake Herman. From there, we're not going around Lake Herman or throughout the county. We would just be taking them to Lake Herman where they would be able to utilize the trail system by the game fish and parks and other amenities that are out there. And the same can be said for Lake Madison. We already have a trail system to Lake Madison, and we did receive some public input that residents in the area would like to see trails around Lake Madison, connecting more of the lake properties there. But we at staff didn't feel that was the prudent use for taxpayer dollars. We are able to connect to the lake, to some of the amenities out there, but it's not our responsibility to develop trails around the lake. So that's one of or two of the things I guess we took away from that. Another principle that was listed in here is utilization of creek and floodplain properties. The city of Madison, fortunately, unfortunately, has creeks in town, which we all know are prone to flooding and has occurred over the years. And so oftentimes they're viewed as a liability, but in this instance, we'd like to use them as an asset so that we can have a trail system that links throughout the community with properties that the city already owns. In many cases, the city would need few, if any, easements to connect some parts of the city through the floodplain properties. And I already noted that this is a focus on recreation, so there was some comments on whether we should have bike lanes in town, but since that wasn't the question that we were asking, not the scope of the project, this focused on recreation, and if the city commission wanted to see public discussion or input on having more bike lanes or otherwise in town, we certainly could do that, but that was not the scope of this plan. However, another balancing act thing, we did have a couple shared use paths that we put within the plan because of both opportunity and necessity. So now I'm turning to the plan if anybody's following along. We've already had discussions on implementing a shared use path, which would be viewed as a wider sidewalk in place of sidewalks. Recreation trails would be going through new areas, largely more wooded or recreational, aesthetically pleasing areas. Shared use paths are taking the place of sidewalks. So we've already talked about one going from 2nd to 9th on Egan that would connect the campus of DSU to our downtown. And so we included that in the plan, and we also expanded it to the south on Egan to get to our existing trailhead at Flynn Field. That would provide a nice connection from our downtown throughout the community to our existing trail system. And for people wanting to cut through town, it would certainly provide that shortcut. The other shared use path that is listed within the draft plan is along Highland Avenue, all the way from Northwest Park at 9th Street and then down to the end of the bypass, or the southwest corner of the bypass by Mustang Seeds. We are working with the county on a reconstruction of the bypass, and so there would be some opportunity as we look at that to incorporate some sidewalk or some shared use path so that we can implement this. And really this was put in there because without this shared use path, you would have a dead end from your recreation trail at Northwest Park. And so it connects it from that dead end down to what we have proposed for a trail coming through Silver Creek there, which also ties nicely into our city administration building, the fishing pond and the rec trail we'd like to have around there. And then finally down to the road that we propose having a recreation trail for the Lake Herman connection. So again, these shared use paths are put in here for opportunity and for connection to areas that would otherwise be left out, and based on the opportunity that we see as projects coming forward in the near future. The last thing I'll note on the plan is this something we actually pulled from our open house, was that some public had input that we could have more nature areas connected throughout the town. And so we had 2 blue circles on there that show areas that the city owns a significant amount of property that is otherwise unused, that we could have more trails for nature areas. What I would envision there personally is that we'd have this main trail coming through, which would be paved of some sort, and then you could have some potentially dirt paths that go away from the path and circle back, so people could still venture a little bit further off, get into the woods, get close to the creeks, and venture around before returning to the main path. That is a maybe not so quick summary of the master plan, but I wanted you to have a clear view of what we're looking at here. And then the end of the plan is several pages of the survey results. So if you were interested in seeing what, kind of support we saw from the public. It is all contained there. I'll stand by for any questions.
Questions at all? I was very pleased with the turnout and the input from the people and that came, and that, you know, we didn't know what to expect, and we had a larger crowd than I anticipated, and that was exciting. So,
Have we budgeted? I don't remember. Have we budgeted for anything like this moving forward?
For plan development, for trail development?
Yeah.
No, not at this time. Mikey certainly come on if you want to. I will add that the recreational trail program, RTP grant, that we want to apply for by April 5th, it wouldn't be until next year. So they don't let you know until usually November-ish, I think, whether you get the grant or not. So that would be a grant with intention for construction in 2025.
And that would get us from this 2 miles to 8 miles?
No,
Oh,
the section that we're looking at just there is around the fishing code.
yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna have to happen in phases, probably.
Yeah, that's another great point I should have mentioned, is this isn't an overnight plan, this
Yeah.
isn't even a 5-year plan, it's probably a 20-year plan. Maybe even more, I don't know, but with what we were looking at for application just this year was just to get around that fishing pond. So a very small area, but we've got this new amenity that the GFP was kind enough to stock for us and supply us with that beautiful new dock. So we want to make sure that there's a nature area around that.
just FYI, it's not stocked yet, right?
It was stocked more for the purposes of seeing how the fish would do over the winter. That's
Yes.
accurate, Mike?
There is some fish that were put in it last fall. That they did put some in, but not a large amount or anything.
So that gets out in public, I can see people heading down there, start fishing right now and going through the construction zone.
There's like 10 of them. They dumped, I think, in, a couple dozen in there, just to see what the mortality rate was for the winter.
We're definitely very excited to have the public use that.
Yes,
It's gonna have to kind of wait till we get to this
just
construction.
not yet.
Yeah.
All right, any other questions?
Anything that you would change or have questions, concerns about? Anything that you would add before the next meeting?
This report is really good. I mean,
Yeah.
it's real, I don't know. Everything's right there. It's a good report, helpful.
And I think it's a great start. You know, I really do. And the nice thing is that, you know, the flood zone areas and that we have acquired over the years and that because of the floods and that give us a great opportunity and that the land is already there and a good share of it available. You know, so that's always, you know, a hurdle that you would have to jump normally, but you know, getting the funding and getting the approval and finding a place to start, you know, this is a great start.
I guess that, yeah, so what are we applying for? How much or?
That will be on the next agenda as well, so you'll move from approving the master plan to then approving us applying for the grant. We wanted to get the master plan done because it wasn't required for the grant, but it shows that our community has had the conversation, has had the discussion. It is tying that one application to a larger vision for recreation trails. I don't remember what the cost was. You remember what it was last year, Mike? That's kind of what you're looking for.
I can't
right?
speak right off the top of my head what the quote was. We had 2 different quotes, an asphalt quote and a concrete quote to see which one would be best. I want
We definitely will have that when we bring the
Yeah,
application.
no worries.
The grant's 80-20, so it'd be a 20% for the city is what the grant pays out. But now every community is trying to expand the rec trail, so we have to be above and try to better present our grant application. It used to be that nobody would apply for it, but now everybody is, so.
80-20 sounds great.
Yeah, I agree.
So I guess what I would suggest in that is look this over really well, and if there's any thoughts on anything you may want to add, change, or, you know, and that, let Jameson know between now and the next meeting.
Agreed. Thank you.
So, did we have any public comment? Hey. Jeremiah, I thought he'd be back at Duck Lake later.
Yeah, I'll with text to see if he knows. You can go through the announcements yet.
Yeah. So under our announcements and that, Since Jameson isn't here, I'll read these really slow.
Jeremiah, I'm right here.
He's coming right now, the door's swinging open.
Oh, perfect.
Next,
Oh, yeah.
our next regular commission meeting is Monday, April 1st. Happy April Fools. Board openings. On the airport board, there's one position, which is a 5-year term. On the Parks and Recreation Board, there's 2 positions with 3-year terms. And on the Planning Commission, there's 3 positions with 5-year terms. And on the Housing and Redevelopment Commission, there's 1 position with a 5-year term. And so with that, do we have a motion to go back into a Board of Adjustment?
I'll make a motion to go back in the Board of Equalization.
Do we have a second? Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, consideration and action on appeal 2024-8. Foster Dawn Lorraine. And on here, this is one where she said property was valued last year at $259, and the assessment now jumped to $290,100. And she did not make a recommendation in here, so I'm gonna open it up for discussion.
Yeah, this one was purchased in August too, so I felt like this is something that should be adjusted to. I guess I just figured it. This is a duplex too, right? If I remember that.
Yeah, it's a condo on Division Avenue.
Yeah. So, you know, instead of the 10% increase in structure, you know, since it's only over 1/4, I figured that to be a 2.5% increase. So what I figured it, you know, is 257.5 with 2.5% increase to 264, because the 257.5 is what they bought it for middle of August, the way it looks.
It
So
did note that it was appraised at that time by Mid-Prairie Appraisals at 259, very similar to 257.
259, okay, so maybe.
There is an appraisal.
Yeah, they completed it at that time of the sale.
So maybe we should do a 2.5% increase on 259 instead of 257.5, what I did.
Well, and the thing I want to caution this is, you know, this is equalization since it's a, duplex. If it turns out the people on the other side and that didn't appeal, and she did appeal, and we set an imbalance on 2 things that are the same. I'm, you know, just cautious on that one.
Sure.
It was already at the 276,
475.
276, 323. You know, and then purchased after that, so I'm. Both sides here would be going back 2 years.
Oh, I think we should go 2.5. Say, what'd you say, Drew?
So in 2023,
Yeah, when it was sold.
it was, yep, so assessed at 276, 300.
But it
I
was
was just looking at the card here.
oh yeah, but it was appraised at 259.
Right.
Again, just from my personal concern is you've got 2 units that are identical. And if, you know, this one appealed, this one didn't. We're doing a taxation imbalance on 2 equalized properties. That's a concern that I have. And I don't necessarily have an answer. What I did is I took it at an 8%, and I put it at 279,720. And I did not split that out.
Well.
I remember to do that next year.
Well, see, on this card, it says $0 for the land value. Why would that be?
I think it's because it's a condo unit.
It's not a duplex, it's a condo.
Yeah, so it must have some kind of condo plat where the land is shared. Yeah, I'm not an expert on that, but I think it's something to do with it being a condo. So to your point, though, I think you would just adjust the building, you wouldn't have land.
Yeah,
Where's the land value captured? Who's accounting for that?
I don't know.
what, this looks like it went up more than 10% then, right?
Sometimes those condo flats have the outside property is a completely different lot, but if I remember right on Beacon, it's not the case here, so I'm not sure where the land value gets taken into place. I would assume it is somewhere, but that'd be a question for equalization.
Other thoughts?
Beacon does show a land value. That's on Beacon, when I click on the lot, it has a land value 52,200. It doesn't have anything in the buildings or dwellings. I think that's because those units would be shown differently. This is just what they have for that whole lot, so it must be broken out somehow. And the individual dwellings, which aren't shown on here, still have the value that you described as the 270 or whatever, the 290. Does that answer your question, or does that muddy it more? I think for your purposes, you can just worry about the building value of the 290 that was proposed and whatever you would like it to be.
When in 2023, it was 276,300.
You have Beacon open, James. Are those two the same?
Yeah, that's the thing is both units are on the same parcel, and I only see the one parcel. I don't see the units.
Now, there is a possibility in that we could leave it alone and they could appeal to the county after this. You know, if we don't feel that we have enough information in that to really make a change, you know, we can state it as that.
Well, we don't know. if Building permits were pulled or any work was.
Yeah.
There's a lot of unknown
There is a lot of unknown.
for us.
Right, but we're really, I mean, it was appraised August 17th at 259,000, so that really should.
Purchased, right?
But again, that's
appraised.
that's your difference between appraisal, assessment, and equalization. And what we're doing is we're meeting as a board of equalization, meaning this property is taxed equal to other properties similar to it for tax purposes. So your equalization number and your appraisal numbers don't necessarily have to match.
Right. But it
And
was
we have a
also-
realtor right there that just shook her head, yes.
But it was sold for 257.5 too, so the sale price and the appraisal is pretty similar, right?
Well, and then the other thing is was that an arm's reach sale or, you know, a closer one? Meaning like if I sold it to my daughter at a discount. I'm just looking at it from the standpoint that there's a lot of information we don't have here and also comparisons with the adjoining piece of property.
And are they identical?
Yeah, that's the other thing. And that's where your equalization director, you know, is to make those determinations. Just because the property assessment, you know, for equalization goes up, doesn't mean the property taxes are gonna go up like that, because yes, the mill levy will be applied to the new number, but the mill levy also may be going down because the county and the schools are limited as to the maximum amount that they can go up in terms of dollars each year. So even though your valuation goes up, it doesn't mean your taxes are gonna go up the same amount that the valuation.
In your seats.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Well, our say isn't final, it's just a
Right, it's our recommendation to the county.
Well, I'm still gonna go with my logic, I guess. I think the 2.5% increase of the appraisal value. To get to 265, 475 is what I would make it a motion on.
265, 475.
Yeah.
So
Which is,
if this is his assessment, will he just they, whoever, will this just be that much more next year to get it back in line again?
No.
No.
No, I spoke with Rick this morning and he, I mean, he has the opportunity, if he doesn't like what we do today, to appeal to the county board. But if he doesn't do that, next year comes around, he works off of the last assessed value. And so, for instance, you had some appeals today that were appealed last year. And after last year's value were set, he added the 5 and 10%, just like every other property. He didn't add it back to what he thought it was last year. Does that make sense?
So what we would be doing would be affecting it
Yep.
forever.
but if we were to do 265, 475, and he brought that in, and the neighboring one was identical. There is a good possibility that he would lower it to match. Rather than leave it alone. That would be my assumption.
And I agree with that, but I still think this is the fairest option.
So there was a motion, I believe. right?
Do you make it as a motion?
Yep, I'll make a motion to, let's see, where,
265, 475.
oh yeah, to make it 265, 475. For appeal number 8, 2024-8.
Do we have a second?
I mean, there's too many unknowns for me. To know what's going on in these homes.
And we can let this move forward with no recommendation. And then let, the county, make their decision, on it. But this is our recommendation going to the county, and then the county will take a look at these and they'll either agree with this, disagree with this, or, And, this person also, if we were to just leave it, with no recommendation, they then could appeal to the county.
There was no recommendation in their letter. Correct.
There wasn't. Which was.
They just talked about the purchase price and the value of the property, or the assessed value.
But again,
Or the
assessed
appraised-
value,
Appraised value, sorry.
yeah, appraised value and value for equalization are totally different. Equalization is comparing this house to this house to this house to this house. Where an appraisal says, based on today, as a realtor, this is what I see the market is doing, and this is what I would put as a value on it. That's your appraisal. And appraisals can change from week to week.
For the meeting, just to know what the adjoining.
Yeah, and I'm sorry I didn't too.
No,
But, I did not compare them, they were very fine.
you think, Jeremiah?
I'm content with sending it to the county if they wanna, argue. They still have recourse. It's tough when they don't show up.
At least in the others that we've had, they have put some thought in it and put a recommendation as to where they'd like to see it. And again, appraisal and equalization are two different entities.
And one thing I'll note just on the defense of the person who's not able to make it is, I think when Rick speaks to them, he tells them they just need to get a letter put in so they can basically save their spot at the hearing here so that that appeal is made. And he tells them that when they get here, they can provide the rationale and the request for what they want to be at. But when they make that, they don't know for sure when this hearing is to be scheduled. I think last year it was on a Tuesday or Wednesday because there were so many of them. This year we kept it on Monday, so it just happens that the person was unavailable today.
She did state that she wanted to attend, she just had a conflict with work.
But with the four of you, with the, four being required for quorum, you're gonna have to agree on something, whether that's a dollar amount, or to send to the county with no recommendation. As it's, yeah. You guys agree.
We don't have any-
Or we'd have to schedule a hearing later in the week when we could get two other members here. I think Adam gets back Wednesday, and I could try to get somebody from the school again.
Yeah, I mean, whatever.
He's the one that made a motion, right?
I made a motion.
You made a motion, but if it's not seconded, it dies.
So how, what was your number?
265, 475. Which is
How much more do you say?
$25,000 less.
And that is lower than it was in 2023.
Yeah.
We don't all have to agree, right? We can just,
What's that?
I mean,
Again,
ultimately the county can.
again,
Right.
that, we can send it forward with, no decision. We don't have to change the number. We don't have to change anything. We can just, send it forward to the county and that would no recommendation. We can either say leave it as it is, no recommendation, or give a new number.
Out of curiosity, with what we did last year, you know, any of the results or outcomes or?
Not, I mean, there was a lot of them last year. I know that one actually went out to the state, so after the county, if the property owner doesn't agree, they can appeal to a state. I think after that, they can even go to a circuit court or something, what Rick was telling me. So one last year did go to the state agreed with the equalization office. My understanding. Otherwise, I think for the most part, Rick accepts the local board's decision. A couple of the ones, there's 2 or 3 from tonight that were appealed last year as well. And to my knowledge, last year's rulings, whatever they were from the local board, were kept by the county.
But then last year, we did have some that were assessed for equalization purposes, way above their neighborhood. And so we brought some of those down, closer to, the sales price and the equalization of, neighboring properties. My concern on this one is you got one half of the building. And if one half appeals and they leave it and you end up with like this, that sets up, it sets up being unfair between neighbors. And we can move forward for lack of a motion, which would leave it as is and send it on to the county.
I'd say that, I'm just double checking with David, if that's the process, or if we have to have some motion, even the motions. No recommendation, I don't know.
Is David still on?
He's not, so I just sent him a message, see if he
Sounds good.
gets the response. But you do have the one that was added tonight, appeal number
Yep.
10, so we could discuss
Which
that
is
one.
Crusher.
Yes. This one was late, so. I have, give me a second. I can give a little bit of a background, this one, since it was less time to prepare.
Did that one Riggins one get?
Oh, excuse me, yes, you have
No,
that,
we've got Riggins yet. to do.
yeah, you start, do that one first,
All right.
you'll need action then, thank you.
Consider action on appeal 2024-9. Boris Riggins, 1703A Airport Drive. And I've got to go back and review this one here now. Was this one also one?
This is an airport one. Yeah, this is the fourth unit, the earlier three.
That were taken off.
Yeah,
Okay, and in that case there, and that, they were present in 2023 when the equalization was done, removed, throughout the year. And so for 2024, they're asking for a valuation of 0 since there's nothing that's there.
So moved.
Second. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, and then on this other one, and that we have that came in late. And that is, it's kind of an interesting situation when you look at its past history. And that, you know, in 03, it sold for 61,000. And then it was transferred to the state in 2010. And then in 2017, 7 years later, I don't know why the lag in time, sold on the sheriff's deed for 60,000. And then someone Jaeger bought it from Wells Fargo for 45,105. And then it sold again just recently here, December for 53,000. And in 2023, and that it was assessed at 76,900. And so the question is, you know, can they put it back to 53, which it sold for last year? In my mind, and that, you know, it sold for 53 in 2023. The new assessments went up between 5 and 10% on all properties for 2024, payable in 2025. And so the question is where are your thoughts?
The water damage, it's hard to, without knowing.
What type of home is this?
A modular home, mobile home, modular home. Just an FYI, what I did is, it sold last year for 53,000. Since across the board, properties went up, 5 to 10%. 10% would be 58,300. That would be a reduction of 18,600 of what it was assessed for taxes last year. Thoughts?
I'm good with it.
What was your number?
Good with it, 58,300. That's a drop of 18,600 from last year's equalization number. And 20-some thousand from 2024 equalization number of 83,000. On this one here, I'm a little more comfortable at making a decision because it is not attached and does not have an identical one attached to it. But what are your thoughts?
Can you say that number one more time for me?
58,300.
Is this one where there's no land value because it's in the court or something?
No, there was, there's 3 valuations on here. There's improvements. There's land, and then D1S of 30,200.
Okay.
See, and so that's where they got the 83. So-
Okay,
You just added 10% on the 53,000.
I did. You know, because 53,000 sold last year. All other properties went up 5 to 10% for next year. You know, so, I thought, well, at least that'll bring it where everyone else is going with the equalization office. And again, you know, if they're not pleased with this, you know, they can make readjustments.
When was that one sold?
It was sold actually in December of 2023, so just 3-4 months ago. Similar to that one, that other one was sold in August 23. So, but this one was sold in December.
What was last year's value on that?
And, 76.9 and for 2024, it was moved to 83,000.
Well, last year, the land value was 22,400, just for your knowledge.
Yeah, it's right here.
Okay,
But what's this third?
I don't know what those three numbers are, but together, are they 54,500?
No, they got 76.9 here.
Yeah, that's a total value.
Yeah,
That should be the sum. I think these two are the dwelling value, the 22,400 would be the land value. I'm not sure what the split is. One else could be an attached garage or something, I don't know. But anyway, last year, the land value was 22,400, the rest of that was the dwelling value,
and which would be 51.4,
54,500.
500.
adding this one and that one.
Yeah, that doesn't add up, so at least that's just what's listed on Beacon, so, but that would be.
Or is that what this year, are you
That's
finding this
listed
year?
at 76,900 the total.
You can see here, 20, here the numbers are different.
This doesn't even add up to 76,900, I'm not sure. what the-
24 to 60, 70, 2, 3, you're right.
Yeah, the 8, 4 and the 4 doesn't add up to 9. At any rate, at least we can tell you what the land value was last year, so if you're trying to divide it out for this year, you can make an attempt.
Any other thoughts?
This is a bizarre one.
Understood.
I'm good with 58,000, I think.
Second,
We need it between land and building though, well, I think Roy's doing the math. In the meantime, Ryan will tell us a joke.
Joke, you want a joke?
Putting it on the spot, I'm just kidding.
22,400 on the land, 35,900 on structure. For the total of 58,300.
So the land is going up or down?
No, it stayed the
Stayed
same,
the same, okay.
stayed the same. Stayed the same as 2023.
What for 24?
Well, for 24 is what I just said. The land value would stay at 22,400. And the structure would be 35,900.
So we're keeping the land the same as he has, but okay.
Yeah. Thoughts?
I think there was a motion,
Second.
right?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the 58,300, did you say?
Yep.
For appeal 2024-10, or,
You got it right.
You got it.
Yes. And
Second.
second, all in favor, say aye. Aye.
I,
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, so on our previous one, are we sending it with no recommendation or?
I did hear
What
from
did
David
David say?
that you can just not make a motion and it would go to the council.
Okay. So on, number 8. Number 8 on here, no, it's number 8 on this one.
I mean, it's pretty much.
On number 17, 17, no recommendation.
so I figured since it was, I figured,
Hold on,
so
hold on.
it was sold. Then, so really there's one more quarter left in 2023. So since the dwelling went up 10%, it took a quarter of 10%, which is 2.5%. And increase that number first, but then actually switch it to the appraised value and increase that by 2.5%. Yeah. So this was what it jumped to, is 265, 475
What was the equalization value last year?
right here. 276. 300.
We're gonna take it down 9. I mean, I love having everything the same, but also I don't wanna punish Don because her neighbor didn't appeal.
Right.
Whatever your thoughts are.
You're right. All right, make a motion.
Now, I'll make a motion to. For appeal 2024.8 to. $265,475.
You want it broke out?
There's no land.
There is
That's
no break.
great.
broke out in
Second.
this. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, with that, I think we have concluded the agenda and the items on Board of Equalization.
Review the role. So we have to say that you have had the opportunity to review the 2023 assessment role and approved it as is. I don't know if there's a motion needed for that. You remember the past?
Aren't there giant books we flip through?
Yeah.
No, well, the books are, they didn't send books over, did they?
On the properties, yes, but we have to motion to close the equalization meeting.
No. Can you-
No, understood, but on, okay,
Is that before?
but
we
on
have to
here,
review the role?
on here, we got review the assessment roll. And usually in that means they sent the book over and then we look through everybody's. Did they
Did Rick
send any
jump off
books?
the giant book?
I have giant books. Would you like them?
Yes,
Yes.
put on some coffee. Next time we get to do this.
See what's your hand for.
All we're gonna say we did it.
Absolutely.
Look at- well,
So.
Side the back, is that-
Here is where we should be able to look up and we can catch it, the neighboring one.
That's what I was.
Yes. That neighboring one, so that should show up in that book.
well, I mean, we're still in our meeting, I guess we could do a motion to reconsider.
Give it to them over there.
Sure, my one copy, so he gets it.
The red flag ones are the ones we were reviewing.
Nice.
Motion to adjourn session. We could use that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh. We're in the backwards.
I'll let Jeremiah write the cut line for that one, get his
There you
honest
go.
feelings up there.
This is really well put together.
And also note that Rick did provide a copy of the sales from the period that he's allowed to look at. But he's able to look at November of 22 through end of October of 23. And these are all the sales from that time period that he uses to
Holy
review
cow.
and make the adjustments. So then we want to see the sales.
352, 600, 29100. They weren't even the same to begin with, Roy. What were you so worried about?
That's what I was at. That's what I said. I don't know.
Significantly different.
Here, show.
So are they significantly different?
One property owner could have made improvements to the inside.
That's, I mean, we don't know if there were buildings that have old since August.
Well, and then there,
Hard to tell.
I would.
here's 806.
Yeah, so is it the 8
810.
Yeah.
You can keep reviewing.
We could,
Give me a see.
yeah, so in that case, and that, I'm, just guessing, I'd say one is a finished basement and one doesn't.
Something like that. One's got diamond countertops. One doesn't.
Yeah.
One doesn't have.
All right, I'm satisfied. I'll make a motion to review, approve the review of the 2023 assessment roll.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other comments, questions? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, do we have a motion to adjourn from the Board of Equalization?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. With that, we move back into our Board of Commissioners. And the next item on the Board of Commissioners is, do we have a motion to go into executive session?
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. So we are now in executive session.